Shalom Aleichem, sweetest friends. How exciting is this? We are continuing our shir on the topic of Pidyon Haben. We were trying to figure out what Pidyon Haben is all about. Is it a piron chov, that a person owes money to the Kohen? It's a monetary obligation. That's the nature of this chiyuv. Or is it a Mitzvas nesina, a special mitzvah? They have to give the Kohen. They have to give the Kohen manas kuna. You also have to give the Kohen 5 slime to redeem your son. And we saw various issues involved, halachas, revolving around Pidyon Haben, which would point in either direction. For example, the Pidyon Haben, the halacha is that you can't do that a matana maslach zir works. So if it's a piron chov, how do you pay a debt with matana maslach zir? But if it is a mitzvah nesina, we understand why it's a matana maslach zir, because you gave it and then you get it back. There's another halacha that if the son dies after 30 days, then one has to still be poded the son. So if it's a mitzvah nesina, who's he being poded? There's no mitzvah. But if it's a piron chov, then we get it. He owes the Kohen 5 slime. At the 30-day mark, he was chayav the 5 slime. It says that it has to be davar hamitaltel v'gufo mammon, something movable, and it has to be itself money, which is memay karka, which is not movable, and shtar, which is in itself money. So if it's a piron chov, samach patlanu. What do we care whether it's the hamitaltel gufo mammon? Important thing is that he paid the chov. But if it's Mrs. Sina, we understand why there's these special conditions. Also, so basically what we said in the previous shiurim was that it's both. It's both. It's a mitzvah nesina, and it's also piron chov. And therefore, we understand why after 30 days you still have to pay. Because there's the piron chov aspect that has to be taken care of. And we understand why it has to be davar matal to the gufo mammon. Because that's for the mitzvah of nesina. If he just gave a 5 slime, then the piron chov is taken care of if it's davar she'eno matal to ven gufo mammon. But there's still the mitzvah of nesina. What about matana manas lahachzir? So matana manas lahachzir. So what one achron wanted to say was that once you did the nesina, then there's no longer a piron. You did the mitzvah nesina, and memela there's no longer a piron chov. But the problem was that he said, and he proved, that they're 2 separate chiyuvim. So how can you say that once you took care of one, then you took care of the other? They're 2 separate. You have to make sure that both are covered. Elchonon wanted to say that Pidyon Haben starts with the mitzvah and then it gets to the chov. The chov is the totzah of the mitzvah. So the moment you did the mitzvah, matana mas lahachzir, then there's no longer a chov. Then we get into a different problem. And that is, why, if you have a suffix, if you're chayiv in Pidyon Haben, the halacha is suffix hamotz mechaber v'raya. So if it's piron chov, we understand hamotz mechaber v'raya. But if it's a mitzvah, why would you say hamotz mechaber v'raya? If it starts with the mitzvah, then I have a mitzvah to do. I have to go machmir misafek and give the 5 slime. So, why does it? What is it? Why shouldn't that take care of the chov? It starts with that, and now the chov is I'm definitely chayiv. What do you mean I'm otzmei charel v'raya? It starts with the mitzvah. I'm chayiv to do the mitzvah misafek. And the Mela, I also have to be chayiv to pay the chov, because the chov is the totzah of the mitzvah. It's an outgrowth. So, what's the teretz? Teretz is, or at least one, obviously many, but that be'etzem, it's really both. It is a priyas chov, and it's also a mitzvahs nesina. And therefore, like we said, you have to make sure that both are taken care of. But what are we going to do about matana manas lahachzir? So in the Sefer Arza de Beirav, he says that, based on the Birka Shmuel, that b'matana manas lahachzir, the din chov and shiabud is nifka yedei mechila of the kohen. In other words, there is a chov and a shibud, and if it's a matam nas lahachzir, the kohen is mochel. And what about the din esina? He gave it. So really, it covered both. How do you have a matam nas lahachzir? Because you gave the 5 slime. So that's the mitzvah of nesina. What about the piron chov? Piron chov doesn't work. Matam nas lahachzir. The answer is on piron chov you can do mechila. That was actually one of the kashas. One of the kashas is if it's purely piron chov, then why isn't there mechila? Why can't it just be mochel? The answer is because it's also mitzvahs nesina. So it's the mitzvahs nesina. He gave it. He gave the 5, and it's a matam nas lahachzir. So there's no piron chov involved. For the piron chov aspect, he's mochel. So that takes care of the halacha of why matam nas lahachzir works. We understand why you're chayiv after 30 days, because you have to take care of the piron chov. And we understand why it's davar and tal v'gufo mammon, because it has to be a proper nesina. And if you gave something that's not metaltel and not gufo mammon, so then there's a piron chov, but there's no nesina. You also have to have nesina. But what about the din of suffix? That's really the most difficult to deal with. If it's a suffix, so mitzad the piron chov enachinami amotz mechorel v'raya. What about mitzad mitzvahs nesina? There are 2 separate aspects. So the answer is that you could say as follows: that there are 2 different dinim, but only when they're chol b'vasa achas. And one can't be chal without the other. So if one can't be chal without the other, then we understand why b'safek we say amotzi mechaber v'raya, and we don't say you have to do mitzvahs nesina. Because when is there a mitzvahs nesina? Only when there's also a chov and a shibud. But here, there was no chov and no shibud in the first place. Because it's only a suffix. In other words, betchilas chalos hachiyuv, they have to come together. And then you're going to have both. But here, betchilas chalos hachiyuv, you don't have both. Because you don't have the piron chov part. Because it's a suffix. Hamotze mechaver ol v'raya. So since the priyas chov part is in chal, so we also say that the nesina is in chal. And therefore you're pater hamotze ol v'raya. You wanted to say to me, no, be machmir. Be machmir, it's a suffix mitzvah. So as far as the piron chov part is concerned, and achinami hamotze mechal ol v'raya. But what about the other part of the nesina? Mitzvahs nesina, you have to be machmir to do mitzvahs. So what's the teretz? Teretz is that when are you chayv in this mitzvahs nesina? When it's chal b'vasachas with the piron chov. But here, in our case where it's a suffix, if he's chayv b'chal pidyon haben, since the mitzvahs nesina wasn't chal, the mitzvah piron chov wasn't chal, mitzvahs nesina wasn't chal either. Neither of them were chal because in order for them to both to be chal, they have to be chal together. And from the get-go, there was no piron chov because hamotze mechaver ol v'raya. So from the get-go, there's no piron chov. There's also no mitzvahs nesina. Hamotze mechaver ol v'raya. So that's betchilas chalos hachiyuv. But once the chiyuv is chal, then they can go on their own separate ways. So for example, if the child dies lo leinu after 30 days, so is there any longer a mitzvah nesina? No. But the piron chov still exists. Why? Because now the piron chov is independent. Once it's chal, at the 30-day point it was chal, so now the mitzvahs nesina is nifka. Bye-bye mitzvahs nesina, because the baby died, unfortunately. But the piron chov is still there, because he was meshubed to the chov. And it was chal of 30 days. So those are the two dinim of Pidyon Haben. The mitzvahs nesina and the piron chov. And we have b'siyata d'shmaya a lot more to say about this. Please God, Hashem should just give us the koach and the moach. And but this is really, in the yeshivas when this talk about Pidyon Haben, that's one of the main discussions. Priyas chov, mitzvahs nesina is one a totzah of the other. They're independent. That's the way to one of the discussions in this sugya. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us the koach and the moach and the simchas chayim and the financial means. And we will continue. Mitzvah Hashem next time. B'li neder. With more shiurim and Yanei Pidyon Haben and many other things. So, shbizocha b'yachad, b'ava, lil mod l'lamed, lishmor v'lasos, u'l'kayim is called divrei sam b'torah b'yahava, amen v'amen. Shalom, shalom, sweetest and most beloved friends.